Oh, 5 days away from what would be my daughter's 31st birthday. So, her birthday's coming up, and this I've been I think I struggle every day. There's a point in the day where I just feel like I have to stop, and I'm in a situation where I was running my mother's daycare, and I had to close her daycare in June. So right now, I'm not employed um, in any way. I'm not doing anything in any way. And so I have like my days free outside of maybe a doctor's appointment, things like that. I've had appointments. And I'm struggling because I'm realizing as the days go on that my daughter's presence, my daughter's love made me strong. My mother's love, made me strong, but I have to say that, my daughter is like forefront of my mind from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. And, I struggle with the feelings that I failed her, that maybe if I had pressed more, or, you know, I think every day I think about what I could have done differently in terms of her last hours. And I think I know that her presence gave me a strength that I struggle to find day to day. Um, there's nothing, I haven't experienced anything like this in my entire life. There's like such an aching and a longing that can't be filled with anything. I listen to people um, talk about how it is grieving their parents, grieving their spouses. And I struggle to find examples where people are grieving their children. And I think it's because there's just no words for it. There's really the support that's out there uh, is more or less akin to forcing you to forget. And I don't know how you forget. I don't know how you forget. I mean, I think about all the stuff that I used to watch and listen to prior to her passing. That was related to overcoming obstacles in your life, overcoming uh, um, troubles and some tragedies. But this what I'm experiencing now is something that, even if you do some research, this is something that you know Freud, right, talked about death and grief and grieving, and how people were supposed to get over and just push through and that type of stuff. And I'm making it in layperson's terms. But when you think about when he lost his daughter, when he lost his child, it gave him a new perspective on grief, to the point where it said that he was inconsolable, that he lived, he continued on, but that he didn't have the answer. What he thought he had the answer for, once it happened to him, he didn't have the answer for it. He didn't have the answer to it. He didn't have the antidote. And so There's a longing, there's a hurting, there's a grief, there's a pain that the undercurrent just runs through my day. Um, and there's no words for it. And you can't explain it. But I find that the people who are enduring it get it. And I had a doctor's appointment last week, and my doctor wanted me to get some blood work done, and I got the blood work done right after. And I went to the lab, and as I was sitting there, the lady's trying to get my blood out of my arm, and she's asking me which arm, and I was just like, she said, I'll try this one. I said, okay. And she put the band around there. She's like, you know, uh, I'm not really finding your vein. That's not, I mean, I've always been heavy, but people finding veins hasn't really been a problem for me. And she said, I'm kind of having trouble finding a vein. Is that unusual? I was like, yeah, it's unusual. And she brought she tied the little band lower down on my arm, and she's pressing. And I said to her, she says, maybe you're dehydrated. And I said, it's possible. I told her I didn't really plan on getting blood work done today, but this fasting blood work I hadn't eaten. I just rather get it done. And, she's pressing, and I just said to her, I said, I'm sorry. I gained a lot of weight rapidly, quickly. And I just kind of shrugged my shoulders. And she said, why? And I said, stress. And she says, everybody has stress. And I went, my daughter died. And I just kind of said like that, And she said, mine too. And I said, you too? She said, yeah. And then she just stopped. She pointed her finger at me and she said, you understand. You get how I feel. You get it. You. And she's pointing at me. And she just stopped and she untied my arm. And she just went and sat down. And she just started talking, and she told me, she's telling me about her daughter. And she's telling me she's sharing about her daughter. I'm sharing about mine. It was like we're just taking turns. And her daughter was 28 when she passed, as mine was. And we're just talking about how much we loved our daughters. And for a moment there, we stopped. It's like we were able to exhale. And it wasn't until that moment, it wasn't even until that moment that I realized that we were exhaling, that I personally walk around holding my breath. In that moment, we were allowed to exhale. We were allowed to connect and just talk about our kids. Talk about our kids. Share how we felt without breaking it all the way down. Because sometimes you only have like one word or two words. I don't know. She sighed so many times. There were moments where she just saying something, she just paused and she put her head down. And she didn't have to explain any of it. I was talking to her just like I'm talking right now. I didn't have to explain the tears, because I can talk and tears will just start falling, and you won't hear my voice crack, and you won't hear the strain in my voice. And I didn't have to explain the tears. I didn't have to excuse the tears. I didn't have to apologize for the tears. We continued to share, and she told me about how she lost her brother and her father, and I shared how I lost my mom. And this is all in the time period of 2021 to now. And then, life started happening around us again. And we took a deep breath, we held it. Uh, she took my blood and we exchanged numbers. And that was it, you know. And I thought about that interaction for days. And, I still have her number. I haven't reached out to her, but it's like for a moment, I could be who I am now. She had never met me. There were no expectations. And I find out with a lot of people, the expectation is that I'm going to be who I was. And a lot of what I say to people doesn't even make sense to them yet because it's like, you know, I tell them, when they come, don't have any expectations. When people start talking to me and try to tell me how to live my lived experience, and I tell them, you can't tell me how to live my lived experience because I'm living it, experiencing it, and learning it all at the same time. And they don't always get that. You have to explain that to her. She got it. Here she is in the midst of this office and living and trying to figure out how to live all at the same time. So it's like this year, um, all the moments since 2021 have been rough. This year is worse um, than my initial year without her because I think the first year I was mostly in very deep shock. Now I'm still in shock in a way, but I have those moments of clarity that just take my breath away when I realize that I'm not going to hear a voice. Um, you know, People have, even their scent, the things that just gave me so much joy, waking up in the morning and hearing her prepare her coffee, humming, talking to herself, her turning on her music, um, hear her dancing around the house. Those things are, those are the things that are really, really settling in now. And but um, as I lived my new invisible life, you know, mm, as I live my new invisible life, and I try to learn how to adjust to being invisible in another way. There's so much layers of invisibility, and I'll have to explain it another time, because as a fat woman, you're invisible. As a black woman, you're invisible. As a woman, you're invisible. Um, as a person of a certain age, you become invisible. And now, as a grieving parent, uh, for the people who still saw me in those other places, that's another layer of invisibility. I'm still here, still trying to figure it all out. And then trying to remind myself why I take time to record, stuff like this because, you know, um, nobody wants to hear about the troubles and the tragedies of life. Everyone wants to be encouraged. Um, there's a $1 trillion self-help industry that's out there to help us be better people. So as I remind myself why I record these, I record this and I put it out there so that if there's another parent, especially a mother, um, who's struggling, who's wondering if she's crazy, if the things that she's thinking, the way that she has to think now, the life that she has to navigate through, um, you know, whether she has to be there for other children. Me, I don't have any other children. So I'm just, struggling to be there for myself. Um, but just to, you know, record something to let that parent know, that mother know that your feelings are valid. Everything you think, the way it looks to you, the way you feel about it, it's all valid. That the way people react to you, it's not your imagination. And that people will have expectations for you that are based on who you used to be and how your life used to be. And to let you know that it's your choice if you choose to show up that way. And if you can, that's fine. And if you can't, that's okay too. That however you show up in the world and in these spaces is okay. Whatever you have to do to make it through another second, another minute, another hour, another day of the rest of your life that you have, however you choose to do it, is okay. I would never advocate um, doing harm to anyone or even to yourself, but but however, whatever you can find to make it through the day, it's okay. My heart is so heavy, so heavy, and I would never ever, never ever wish this burden on anybody, this pain on anybody. But if you find yourself here in this space, know that you are not alone. Oh boy. Happy birthday, Misha.